Temptation, it lies beside me. Titties and give and take. Thoughts tend to spin, make me so crazy. Why did I do this again? Sometimes it makes me wonder, is there a door still open? I can't wait any longer. Do you believe? It's time to live and see the light. Take the time to fight and do what's right. Gotta take it on one step at a time. I'm gonna open my eyes to a brand new day. 'Cause I'm here to stay. I'm here to stay. Oh. It's time to live and see the light. Take the time to fight and do what's right. Gotta take it on one step at a time. I'm gonna open my eyes to a brand new day. Open my eyes to a brand new day. Open my eyes to a brand new day. We hear the battle cry. Tonight is do or die. We fight and you will see. Addicts to victory. We're an army in the valley now, on a mission, gonna tear it down. Eyes upon you, all adrenaline and determined for a clean sheet win. We will win, we will win, a clean sheet win. We will win. We hear the battle cry. Tonight is do or die. We fight and you will see. Addicts to victory. Charging down the line. Racing against the tide. Follow us and see. Addicts to victory.
3 wins in a row, 3 clean sheets in a row, and now that top half of the table, well, it's back within our sights. Today is the club's first ever International Addicts Day, so you can rest assured that Jacko and the boys will be going all out to try and make it 4 victories in a row to mark the occasion accordingly. As always, we have got a jam-packed show coming up for you where I will be speaking exclusively to manager Johnny Jackson and striker Jaden Stockley. We also hear from a number of our international supporters. And we'll look back at last weekend's dominant victory over Doncaster Rovers. A lot to squeeze in as always, and I'm delighted to have Curbs back in the studio with me, and next to him, a former teammate.
By Adams, only as far as straight, and it's still in that penalty area. Stewart, oh, it's a goal for Charlton Athletic, and it's Peter Shirtliff. The target, there he is! He scored! Well, it was worth the wait. Walsh goes over it. Now back for Pete. Oh, it's a good one! Oh, it's the goal! Which might well have preserved First Division football for Charlton Athletic. Well, it's Peter Shirtliff again.
Welcome to Charlton TV, Peter Shirtliff.
Thank you.
And Peter, we've had the pleasure of listening to your commentary a number of times on Charlton TV. It's great to have you in the studio with us. How does it feel to be back at the Valley?
Really good. I never played here, but it's a really nice stadium. I've been here with a couple of different clubs, and yeah, it's really nice.
How much are you looking forward to watching the game unfold alongside your former teammate Curbs?
Yeah, looking forward to the game. I last saw them at Accrington, which was prior to the 3-game winning run. And I was pleased about that because it was obviously a bounce back in terms of performance because I've had the 3 clean sheets and managed to get 3 victories. So I'm looking forward to the game on that respect.
Good, well, as are we. And Curbs, you've had a break, are you feeling recharged, ready to go?
Yeah, come back to a happier Valley, obviously, which is great. And it's funny, isn't it? Just walking in the place, because of the results, you know, it's give everyone a lift, and including Jacko, I think. Because he's had a whirlwind start to management. He went on that fantastic run and he must have thought, this is easy. And then the downturn, which was tough, and the injuries, etc. And now, obviously, the 3 wins on the spin, but more importantly, I think the confidence is back, along with the strikers.
And we've spoken about it on so many occasions, haven't we? Momentum is a priceless thing in football. We host Lincoln today, and then we've got that short trip on Tuesday to AFC Wimbledon, and it's important for the boys to keep that momentum going.
Absolutely, and you know, as we gear up to the end of the season, if you like, you know, the run-in, if we can carry this sort of form into the run-in, it will make us more attractive in the summer, in the transfer window, you know, because players see what's going on. If they see a strong end to a season, you know, prospective players out there, and you're trying to entice them in, it helps if you have a really strong run-in and finish in the top half, and you know, then the conversation is what we're going to do next year, what we're going to do next year, and yeah, it will make us a lot more attractive if we can jump into that top half.
Curbs makes the point there, Peter. How important is it for a side that have underachieved throughout the season to end it strongly going into the summer?
Well, Alan's touched on it. It's prospective signings. That obviously they want to finish as high as they possibly can in the league. But I mean, you look around the stadium, and in League One, there's not many better clubs than this. I mean, it's a really nice football club to be at, and great training ground, and I would think that, you know, a good solid end to the season would be in everybody's favour, really.
Yeah, it certainly would. Well, we have got so much to get through as we count down until kick-off. Let's dive straight in, shall we? I caught up with manager Johnny Jackson earlier this afternoon. Johnny, thanks for joining me. 3 wins on the spin, 3 clean sheets as well, and a chance to return to the top half of the table. Where do you see that uptake in form coming from?
I think there's various reasons. I think we've done a lot of good work on the training pitch. I think we've had some clear weeks, which definitely helps. So a little bit of a lesson up in the schedule there. Obviously, the obvious thing is we've had some players coming back from injury that have made a big difference to the team. Stockley, Washington, getting that partnership back together up front has made a big difference. Corey Blackett-Taylor coming back from injury in the form that he's shown as well. So, yeah, I think it just shows that at the top end of the pitch that makes us a different prospect, but it also helps the fact that you're probably defending less in games, you're having more momentum, more pressure, so it helps ease the burden at the other end as well.
And it was a complete away performance at Doncaster last weekend by all accounts, and I suppose your only gripe might have been that we didn't score more goals. Yeah,
so not quite complete. It would have been a complete if we'd have won 4 or 5, which we probably should have done. So pleasing really that we created so many chances. Not so pleasing that we only took 1, but 1 was all it took in the end. And obviously, if you'd have offered me a 1-0 away from home before the game, I would have taken it, so I'm not going to grumble too much.
And it's been another clear week in terms of preparation at the training ground, and the mood must be great at Sparrows Lane as we head to the final month of the season.
It's really good, yeah, spirit's been good. Even throughout that run, we kept our heads up, spirits remained high, and we've done the right work. Obviously things weren't going so well on the pitch, but that's turned now, and winning definitely helps with the atmosphere and the spirit around the place. So everyone's in a good place. Obviously we've got a lot of players to choose from, a lot of competition now for places in the squad, so that can only help with the competitiveness of training.
And on that note, we've been unchanged for 3 consecutive games now. What's your starting 11 today?
Yeah, same again, so fourth game in a row, we'll go with that team. Obviously lads are in good form, we're good results, clean sheets, so we go with that again.
And Lincoln are 18th, and it's fair to say their form has been a little bit inconsistent this season. What have you made of Michael Appington's side?
I think they're a good side. Yeah, they've been a little bit up and down with their form, but on their day, they're a very good team, capable of beating anyone in the league. When they're really on it, they try and play good football. Got a lot of energy in the team as well, and defensively they've got a decent record, so it's going to be a tough game today, we know that.
And as I mentioned earlier, 3 wins on the bounce now, including back-to-back home games too. How great would it be to make it 4 in front of the home supporters today?
Oh, fantastic, we love playing here, the support that we get is brilliant. They really get behind the team, and it makes such a big difference. So the home form has been good generally. We want to try and continue that. This is 2 more after this here, so we want to send the fans away with something to smile about.
Brilliant, thanks Johnny, and good luck today.
Thank you, cheers Charlotte.
Great to hear from Jacko. As always, he said the boys are in a good place, and the starting lineup is the same, Peter, as you would expect when a team is winning.
Yeah, consistency. I think that's the key. Obviously they've had the 3 wins, and like Alan was saying earlier, got the strikers back. So it's good to see consistency in the selection, and with like Jacko mentioned earlier, the 3 weeks rather have allowed him to get work done on the training pitch, and it looks as though he's been consistent with his selection, and he's saying to the players, come on, you've got the shirt, you hang on to it.
And Curbs, a lot has been made quite rightly of the return of Jayden Stockley and Connor Washington, but picking up consecutive clean sheets as well, that back 3 in particular is beginning to look more stable again, which is very reassuring.
And when you're in that mood that you can keep a clean sheet, and you've got a bit of a threat up top, you go into the game full of confidence. Even if you do concede, you feel as if you're going to get back into it because your strikers are back. And it's not just that. It's been a team. It's been a team effort. And as Jacko said on the training ground, they've probably got a bit more work done. But I'm looking forward to the run-in. If it was me, and it's not, obviously, I hear about Jacko and his contract and finish as high as he can. But, if it was me when I was here and we were safe or whatever, I would bring a few young players in just to have a look. When you're going to get a chance to do that? If we're talking about promotion next year, then, it's going to be hard for them youngsters. And we've got some excellent youngsters in the under-23s or whatever, doing great. But can you introduce 1 or 2 of them on the way? As I say, I don't know. I hear lots about Jacko's contract and etc. finishing as high as he can, which is great. And we're talking about a strong finish. But I would like, I would personally like to see 1 or 2 of them young boys just get a game here and there. I think we can afford to do that. But obviously that's Jacko's decision. But apart from that, most people, when you've got a run-in like this, you can fade away, which is what obviously we did quite a few occasions. So I think Jacko's job now is to make sure that everyone is at it. And if they're not, as Shirty just said, then you're out and you're in. Because you're looking at our bench again, and we've got players there that are thinking, hold on, I should be playing, or if I get a chance, I'm going to make sure I stay in the side.
Well, looking at that bench, we have to shout out, of course, Jake Forster-Caskey returning to the bench after a really long time out. Great to see him there, and what an impact that he could make coming in, and again, feeding into that emphasis on ending the season strongly, Peter.
Yeah, Alan's made a good point about maybe blooding one or two youngsters. You know, I mean, a typical a game in coming up shortly is Rotherham away, and you know, Rotherham are probably the toughest physically side in the league, and it's a good opportunity to see, you know, go on, let's see what you can do against the top side. And I think, like you said, Forster-Caskey's coming back is really great, really great.
It will be a really big moment for him, and he'll be buzzing to be back involved in first team activities. But now let's have a look, as always, at the league table, and we will begin with the bottom half, as we're currently 14th, having leapfrogged Burton with last weekend's triumph at Doncaster. Victory today could take us back into the top half, and we have a game in hand on 12th place Cheltenham too. Elsewhere, Gillingham rose above Fleetwood to 19th with a 2-1 win at Accrington on Stanley to take the Gills 4 points clear of the drop, though Fleetwood do boast 2 games in hand on Neil Harris's side. Curbs, Gillingham are 4 points clear of the drop now. Neil Harris has overseen a 14-point swing in 12 games. How impressive have you been by the work he's done?
Absolutely, and you know, that's what you hope for, don't you, when a new manager takes over? It's what Jacko done when he took over here, very similar. So, yeah, if he manages to keep Gillingham up, then I'll be happy, because that'll be a bit of a local derby next year, because I love it when the away fans sell that end out, because I think it makes a big difference. Yeah, let's have Gillingham here next year. Yeah,
my dad would agree with that, being a Gillingham supporter as well. And Peter, looking at the bottom 5, they're winless in their last 5 games now. Do you think the writing's on the wall for that bottom 4?
It's looking like it's 4 out of 5. Fleetwood have probably got the outside chance of staying up, but I can't see Crewe, Doncaster, Morecambe or Wimbledon surviving.
Well, let's look at the top half now, and Sheffield Wednesday climbed back into the top 6 at the expense of Sunderland with a convincing 4-1 victory against Cheltenham at Hillsborough last weekend, while Ipswich are now within 5 points off the playoffs, having defeated Plymouth 1-0, albeit having played 40 games. And as I said, Peter, your former club Sheffield Wednesday returned to the playoff places last weekend. Do you fancy them to make an instant return to the Championship? I
think if they get in the playoffs, I think they'll win them. Yeah, but it's tight. I mean, Sunderland are still there with a shout. Wickham, Ipswich, even with if they could possibly win every game, you know, that's the sort of league it is. It can change. It can change overnight, and teams are very, very similar in terms of ability. And but the weight of performance and the weight of the home support at Sheffield Wednesday, I think, will be a big influence.
And Curbs, you fancied Wigan to win the league. Are you still standing by that?
Well, yeah, I just don't think it's right that they've still got 2 games in hand. I know we've had a difficult season, pandemic and COVID, etc., but they've got to make them games up. I think the league have got to make sure they make them games up quickly. But I think Wigan, when they came here, is the best side I've seen. Rotherham obviously have been up there for most of the season. I think we're just looking at the playoffs after that, to be fair, and look at the size of some of them clubs that you know, Shirley spoke about us, but look at the size of some of them clubs that are trying to get in that playoff position.
Well, look, there are 11 fixtures in League One this afternoon, and with Rotherham's trips to Portsmouth rearranged owing to the Millers' involvement in the Papa John's Trophy final tomorrow, second place Wigan are currently in action against near neighbours Bolton in the early kick-off, and it's currently 1-1 at the DW Stadium. It's 4th versus 5th at Home Park as Plymouth and Oxford go toe-to-toe, where Plymouth have won their last 5 without conceding. At the other end of the table, bottom place Crewe have a so-called 6-pointer against Fleetwood. Crewe have lost their last 5 whilst Fleetwood are winless in 13 now. Wimbledon, who we face in the southwest London on Tuesday, travel to Sheffield Wednesday, seeking a first win in 21. Curbs, Peter, what are the standout games for you this afternoon?
Well, I'm looking at, funny enough, I just saw Wimbledon there because Mark Bowen's took over, hasn't he? You know, obviously one of my players, and he's been in this studio a couple of times, so that's a daunting task, isn't it, first game?
Definitely.
But, you know, nothing to lose, really, I suppose, and we play them Tuesday, so that's going to be a big game for Wimbledon. I think Plymouth-Oxford, for me. Obviously the one at the top, but Plymouth-Oxford, because they're both desperate to get in them playoffs.
Yeah, I'll be looking at that as well. And Ipswich, I mean, they've been on a reasonable run. Plymouth won 5 or 6 games on the spin, and Ipswich beat them. So I'd look at that result, but I think Curbs is right with the Plymouth-Oxford game.
Right, well now we have plenty of club news to bring you up to speed with. Let's start with some home ticketing news. Tickets for both our remaining league fixtures at the Valley this season are on general sale. How are we at that point? Only 2 more games left here. We welcome Morecambe to SE7 on Friday, April the 15th, before hosting Shrewsbury Town on Saturday, April the 23rd, in what is our final home game of the season. And you may well be watching overseas today, but come on, get yourself to the Valley for one last time this season. Tickets for both games can be purchased by heading to booking.cafc.co.uk. Meanwhile, season tickets for the 2022-23 season have also gone on sale this morning. Existing season ticket holders will be very pleased to know that their renewal price has been frozen for the early bird window, and full details about that can be found on cafc.co.uk. A streaming update now, and supporters are reminded that today's game is only available to live stream outside of the UK and Ireland as per EFL broadcast rules. As is the case with every Saturday 3 PM game this season, we can only live stream outside of England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, Guernsey, Jersey, the Isle of Man and the Republic of Ireland. We are also not streaming to the Russian Federation at present. Overseas fans can purchase a live streaming video match pass for today's game for just £10 by going to cafc.co.uk. Youngster Joel Powell caught the headlines for Maidstone United on Saturday as he bagged this 96th-minute winner to secure a 3-2 triumph over St Albans City. Both he and Hadi Gandor featured for the Stones as they stretched their lead at the top of the National League South to 4 points. Elsewhere in the 6th tier, Dylan Gavin continued his rich vein of form for Billericay Town by bagging his 5th league goal in 8 starts to help lift the Blues out of the relegation zone. Fans can find out how all our loanees are faring by reading this week's Loan Watch on cafc.co.uk. Cameron Hills' Charlton are back in action in the FA Women's Championship when they face London City Lionesses at Prince's Park in Dartford. The Lionesses are currently 1 place and 1 point above the Addicts in the table, and we're hoping for a bounce back from last weekend's narrow defeat against Crystal Palace at the Oakwood. Everyone at CharltonTV wishes Karen and the squad the very best of luck as they return, or look to return, to winning ways. Ahead of our last home fixture against Burton, the Valley played host to some of Ohio's finest students. The students from Miami University stocked up on Charlton merchandise in the Valley Superstore before watching on from the Alan Curbishley stand as the Addicts saw off the Brewers. And it's safe to say we now have a new set of overseas Addicts. The Ohio-based students weren't the only overseas spectators in attendance for the Burton match. We also treated a number of our international Addict fan group members to a very special day in SE7 last time out. Here's how they got on.
I'm part of the German Addicts. End of 2013 it was my first trip to London, and I've known Charlton from former Premier League times. I'm pretty interested in British football, and so I decided, okay, let's go to the Valley and see what's happening there. And yeah, I really like the atmosphere, family club, and yeah, so I started following the results. And then I came back to London, visiting the Valley again, and so I got in contact with some other guys, and yeah, it's quite fun. Today we meet some other fan groups like the Swedish Addicts and some other international guys, which is quite fun. It's the first time we actually come together and see each other. That's really a special day for us. We have Zoom meetings with the other international Addicts. It's like every 2 weeks, but then we are closing the meeting and then switching on Charlton TV once the streaming starts.
The pastor, he did a nice service for one of the deceased fans. It was very touching and very moving, and also he had time to talk about, you know, the terrible war with Ukraine, and he put some prayers for the guys in Ukraine, but also in Russia, you know, the innocent citizens of Russia that also is not chosen this war. So it was very touching, and I feel touched now when I talk about it. It was fantastic.
I've supported Charlton since 2017. I've kind of met the German addicts last year, and yeah, now I'm in London with them. I was here 4 times, and always with family, and it's really interesting to meet new people, and that's the most exciting part for me. Yeah, I fell in love with this club.
Great to see so many overseas supporters enjoying a fantastic day here at the Valley. And as we always say on Charlton TV, we would love to hear from you. We've still got enough games left to have a chat with you. So if you'd like to do that, then get in contact with us by emailing fans@cafc.co.uk. Right, refocusing back on today, and as well as being our International Fans Day, today is our annual Red, White and Black Day. A walking parade from Charlton Station to the Valley got started just a few minutes ago, and James Sherwood spoke to one of the leaders of it, former Charlton midfielder Paul Mortimer, pitchside a little earlier.
Yes, Charlotte, thank you very much. And as mentioned, I'm delighted to be pitchside now and joined by former Addict midfielder Paul Mortimer.
Hey.
Morts, it's great to have you here today.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm in this lovely place. Wish I was out on the pitch, but you know, this is the best I can be is sitting here watching.
Yeah, but you're doing a very important role for us today, Morts.
Yeah.
You're like our Pied Piper at the front of our Red, White and Black Day parade.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to that?
Hugely, yeah. I know that, you know, the walk isn't too long, so fortunately I'll have to do my stretches.
No injuries.
I'll have to do my stretches, but you know, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's something that this club has led the way in as far as I'm concerned, and long may it continue.
For those who don't know much about the Red, White and Black Day, tell us a little bit about the initiative.
Well, it's over 25 years now, and what it's about more than anything else in the community is about highlighting, educating, supporting, guiding people to understand more about difference and diversity, about really the importance of equality, diversity and inclusion, and how it sits within the community. Because, you know, hopefully what happens when people come in this stadium is everyone who comes in is reflective of the community. So if we can create that relationship, that bridge from the club to the community, and really what the club does really well is challenge the community to improve their understanding around equality, diversity and inclusion, which I think, as you can see in the current climate, we all need to understand more about that.
As you mentioned, Charlton held their first ever Red, White and Black Day more than 25 years ago. You was actually a player at the time, so firstly, probably making you feel a bit old, but also, what does that say about the club's commitment to this cause of diversity and inclusion?
Well, for me, in many ways, especially around the community trust, this club has led the way. As far as I'm concerned, I've spoken about it in many different places that, you know, everyone has to follow the way Charlton do things, because what this has always been, it's been a unique and special club because it's been linked to the community. If you consider, you know, many years ago it was the fans that came and helped to clear up the stadium. So the community is hugely important to this club. So if the club can help to support, educate the community in terms of being more inclusive, in terms of making everyone who comes into the stadium feel included so that we can all support the team together, then they're doing a great thing.
So of course you're going to have more than 300 people behind you on this parade from all different local groups, including local schools as well. It's a bit of a rainbow nation behind you. How does that speak positively about the movement and how positively it's going?
Well, I think that just highlights it, because I'm sure 10, 15, 20 years ago it wouldn't have been as diverse. If you look at, I mean, what everyone coming today is, it's a snapshot, it's a little snapshot of what society is about at the moment. It is incredibly diverse in so many different ways. And what it says, again, about Charlton is they're leading the way. they're at the front, and like I'm going to be at the front, hopefully. I hope we're not going to walk too fast.
Last the whole 90
I'm
minutes.
going to last the whole 90 minutes, but yeah, I just love the way Charlton do this type of thing, and I'm so delighted and honoured to be a part of it.
Still work to be done, though, in the community, not just here in South London, but the wider community in the UK.
Yeah, we haven't cracked it, without a doubt. But with clubs like Charlton doing what they're doing, what it does is it inspires other clubs. It inspires other communities around football clubs to be able to take that mantle up and actually want to emulate the success that Charlton has. Yes, of course there's work to be done, but if we don't have clubs like this leading the way, then the other clubs who might be slightly more behind never see that pathway to success, which I think is what Charlton shows.
And you're going to be joined at the front of the red, white and black parade by Doreen Lawrence.
Yes,
why is it
lady.
important for high-profile individuals like that to acknowledge the work that this great football club does?
Well, everyone can relate to Doreen Lawrence. If you look at what she's experienced, and everyone understands it. And it's important for people who have experienced aspects of inclusion and diversity, good and bad, to be able to lend their voice to it, to be able to talk from the heart about it, so that everyone understands that these are not... You see, when we talk about equality, diversity, inclusion, they could be like core values, words on the wall. It's our responsibility to breathe life into those words by the way we react and respond and how we behave. And that is why we need people like Doreen Lawrence front and centre to be able to talk about the importance of equality, diversity and inclusion.
Well, Mortz, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you before.
Yeah.
I'm hoping you're going to make it all the way.
Well, I'm going into the physio to give me a massage and I'm going to do some stretches and I'll be there.
Well, I look forward to seeing you as you make it into the stadium, heading up the red, white and black parade.
Yeah,
now back
forward
over to Charlotte in the studio.
Thank you, and as we can see Paul on our screen now with Doreen and Curbs, this red, white and black day has been a part of our fabric now for over 25 years, and it's great that the club is working so proactively on the topic of diversity and inclusion.
Well, it's often spoke about the club when it went through its transition, leaving the Valley, coming back and then progressing into the Premier League. There lots of people used to come and ask us, how did we do it? But at the same time, when the club took off, so did the community side of it, with Jason Morgan, etc. And I think it's the same thing. People always come into the club. Other clubs are coming to our club and asking, why you've been so successful? What have you done? How can we follow you? Can you give us some advice? And that's always great when you hear that. And Mortz just mentioned it. Yeah, we've always been at the front of the inclusion, etc. And it looks like it's going to be a really lovely day.
It's great to see, and long may it continue, the great work that Charlton is doing in the community. Right, Peter, are you ready to take a trip down memory lane?
Oh, go on then.
We want to see this tackle. We've got to see this tackle.
I don't know
We
whether
have
I'll go on.
got plenty to
He's
talk
not
about.
seen it.
Oh, well, don't you worry. We've got plenty to digest.
X-rated glasses, let me tell you.
Well, look, Peter, let's take it back to the start. You joined us in 1986 from Sheffield Wednesday. You'd been there a very long time. What was said to you by Lenny Lawrence to convince you to sign for Charlton?
Firstly, that they'd just been promoted, and he sort of impressed upon me that he was building a team, and a squad that he expected to have a good time in the Premier League. And he knew it was going to be tough, but he sold me a dream, and he sold me a change, basically. I was looking for a change in direction in my football career, and I thought it would be a good opportunity.
When you joined us, we'd obviously enjoyed that success and that promotion, but we were homeless. What was it like joining a team that was doing so well on the pitch, but maybe having a few troubles off of it?
Yeah, that was strange. I'd been used all my career to having a headquarters, if you like, and the headquarters at Charlton was a training ground. Obviously, the home games were played at Selhurst Park, and it was difficult. Not just because there was no fans, and that actually getting to the place was difficult. Because there were horrendous traffic sometimes, and you had to set off pretty early to get there in good time for the game.
And you were one of a few big signings that took place that summer. And we've actually got a clip from that moment and recently after you signed. Let's have a little look over at it now.
Obviously, we'd like a good start. I think that's the aim of every club in First Division, especially when you've just come into the division. Good start.
Obviously, it would be harder because we're going into the toughest league in the world, but it doesn't matter what walk of life you're in, you can only ask for an opportunity to match yourself against the best. And that's what's going to happen to me as a manager and to the players. And I'm sure we'll do better than people are going to give us credit for.
Some great footage there, and only one place to start. That haircut was fabulous.
It was classic, wasn't it? Oh, God. I was so young. I mean, I'd just brushed my teeth in the last game of the season prior to that. That's horrendous, wasn't it, really?
Well, look, Curbs, a number of really important players signed at around the same time. What was the kind of culture like that Lenny Lawrence had built that attracted these really influential
well,
players?
I think he had great backing from John Sunley and John Fryer, and Jimmy Hill was the chairman. When I turned up, the team was third from bottom in the championship, if you like. And Lenny said, look, in the summer things are going to change, and they did. He brought in 5 or 6 players, and we won promotion. And then that summer, to be fair to him, he said, listen, I've got to bring players in, and I'm going to bring 4 or 5 players in again. He wasn't that loyal. He brought players in, and that's, you know, he done a fantastic job. And Shirty was one of them. And as soon as Shirty came into the place, we knew we had a captain. As I said earlier, not perhaps by what he said, but how he led by example in the training ground, the way he conducted himself, and on the pitch, obviously. And the players that came along with him made sure that we stayed in the league.
And Peter, you got your first goal against Coventry, and it's not necessarily the best footage, but let's take a look back at it anyway. Did you always feel that we'd be comfortable in this league?
Early games, we sort of had mixed results. I knew it was going to be tough. It was tough. It's tough for any club, to be fair. Obviously, the big sort of 4 or 5 are a league apart, if you will. But yeah, I expected what we got, which was tough games at home in particular, because we haven't got the advantage of the massive home support that usually you get at Premier League level or First Division level, as it was.
And Curbs, before we go over the obvious goals, you alluded to it earlier, how important was it having players and characters like Peter around?
Well, absolutely, and I think the players that came in, obviously he was under no illusions as a newly promoted side, it's going to be a little bit tough, but we all felt we had the quality in the squad. And as I say, Lenny, I mean, I played in the team that won promotion, but had to have an operation in the summer, and when I recovered, Lenny had brought in 3 midfield players, which didn't please me at all. But obviously, he needed to do it. And as he said to me, I couldn't wait for you, Cocker. You know, you was going to be out for 3 months, and etc. But the people he brought in, as we saw in the earlier film, Andy P, Colin Walsh, you know, how can you argue when them sort of players came in? But as I say, he wasn't too loyal, and he knew that he had to bring players in, and he brought them in very quickly as well.
And we made it through, obviously, to the end of season playoffs. What are your memories of those games as we take a little look at some of your goals scored against Leeds? Must have been a cracking atmosphere to play in those games, Peter.
Well, it's, yeah.
You're still stunned, aren't you?
I was stunned. I can't believe I did that.
Oh, this is the goal.
This is a better one.
This is the goal. Mervyn Day in goal, look at him. Look at his face, Merv, look, he knows they're done. They're done.
Colin Walsh there, he was a good player, Walsh. Some good players, you know. There's some good players at the club at the time, for sure.
Curbs, Peter, were you aware of how much pressure you were under playing in those big games?
Yeah, but I think it was a lifeline that, you know, the Premier League side, if you like, still had an opportunity, which is not there now, is it? But still had an opportunity in them playoffs. And I think we went into them confident that we were the best side in the playoffs. Yeah. But you never know until you do it. And I mean, that game at St Andrews, wasn't it?
Yes.
St Andrews. You know, Leeds, they took so many fans there and made such a noise and whatever. And I think we responded to that.
Well, look, I've made you wait long enough. Shall we have a look
at the tackle?
Some of those amazing tackles. I mean, would you still be on the pitch after some of these?
Not
I mean,
this one. Look, can we see it again?
No.
The ref doesn't even... Actually, I think the ref...
He was my mate, the ref.
I think the ref books him for diving.
Picked him up. That's shocking.
Have a look.
Oh no, that's awful.
VAR would have had. It would have got to Stockley Park, and it took 10 seconds, wasn't it? Straight back.
I can't believe I did that.
Well, no wonder you were so popular with your teammates. You obviously had their back on the pitch, which was, you know, part and parcel of the game.
I did have the back, that's for sure, but not like that, really.
Well, look, your whole Charlton career was spent away from the Valley. Were you disappointed never to have the opportunity to play out here in a red shirt?
Yeah, there were always rumours that, you know, even after the first season, we've got a chance of going back to the Valley, and people were clearing the weeds off the terraces and the pitch and everything, and there was a massive bonfire in the middle burning all the rubbish and stuff. And there was always rumours about that, and we had our end of season presentations and stuff like that at the Valley, so it was always in the air, but obviously it didn't come in time for me.
When we announced that you were coming onto Charlton TV today, supporters were delighted. You know, you're so warmly regarded here. How do you look back on your time at Charlton as a whole?
Oh, I loved it. I had a really good time. You know, people don't expect lads from the north or whatever to adapt as well as they can do, but I did. I really loved it. I loved the area, I loved the people, I made some good friends, and the players were great, and the management was great, and the responsibility that Lenny gave me as a captain made me a better player. So the 3 years I had at Charlton, I have great affection for.
Well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure to go down memory lane, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this game goes alongside you. Now, as we mentioned earlier, it's 3 wins in a row for Johnny Jackson's side. Last time out, we picked up 3 points against Doncaster. Let's look back on those highlights, and he's a man in great form at the moment. Corey Blackett-Taylor won Charlton a penalty, and Curbs, this is exactly what we want to see him doing this afternoon.
It's an amazing turnaround for him, isn't it? I mean, when he signed for us, I bet he didn't think he was ever going to play left wing back, you know, and he's been a revelation ever since he's been there, you know, and the injury coincided with our lack of form as well, didn't it, with the strikers out, but he was fighting last weekend. But we should have won it more comfortably. You know, we didn't do that, and that'll be the big disappointment, that we didn't score more goals, as Jacko said.
And Connor Washington getting in the right areas. I spoke to him midweek for an international addicts call, and he was so disappointed with the penalty, Peter, but seeing him back in that team, his work rate in industry creates so much, not only for himself, but for players like Stockley, as we can see there, them combining.
Yeah, it's good that they're back in certainly in selection in the team, but I think both of them, with them being out injured, they started to get some rhythm back in their game and their match fitness, etc., particularly Washington. I've seen him in fits and starts throughout games that I've commentated on in obviously away games, and he has looked short of match fitness, but you know, these last few games have done him the world of good, I think.
Well, they complement each other, don't they? You know, we know Stockley is the big target man, but as a centre-half, and sure you appreciate that, if there's someone running off him, going in behind you as a centre-back, that causes you the problems, and you know, we haven't had that to our game with the injuries, that people can run in behind, and Washington definitely wants to do that, and it's a good combination, isn't it?
Well, remarkably, we've got an 87.5% win ratio when Jayden and Connor have started together in the league under Jacko. It's some partnership, probably one of the best in the division, Peter.
I would think so, 87.5%. I mean, that's really good going, that is. That's really good going. And probably if they played more games on a consistent basis, then Charlton would be probably up near the playoff situation, because obviously the league doesn't lie. You've got to win games to get there. And they've lost a lot of games by the odd goal, and you know, that like Alan's touched on it earlier, you get your strikers in and you've got a threat, then it means a hell of a lot to a team.
Absolutely, and talking of Connor and Jayden, I spoke to the latter earlier today. Jayden, thanks for joining me. In many ways, it was the perfect away day at Doncaster last week, and 3 points, a clean sheet and another goal for yourself.
Yeah, it was. Well, it's perfect for some. It would have been nice if I scored another few, because it should have been much more comfortable on the day. But going there, winning 1-0, scoring, coming back with the points was much needed, especially given our away form as of late.
And today will be your 4th consecutive start alongside Connor Washington. Barring a draw against league leaders Rotherham, we've won all 7 games when you two have started together under Johnny Jackson. How does this fare in terms of partnerships you've had with another striker in your career?
It's as a two, it's the best I've had. I love playing with Connor. It's sort of, you know, telepathic in some ways. I mean, you know each other's movements, you know each other's players. Like, we know what we can do and know what we can't do, which is important as well. And we get on really well off the pitch too. So it's been a partnership that has gone strength to strength. Really, we didn't get to use it too much at the start of the season because obviously we played as a one. Connor played out wide. But since the gaffer's come in, it's been a partnership, and we take confidence from it every game.
And Connor was very complimentary about you ahead of the game last week at Doncaster, and also midweek in an International Addicts Forum as well. What is it about Connor's game you think that brings out the best in your style of play?
It's just how relentless he is with his running, and he's not just running in behind. No one can time it as good as he can. If someone goes up there and gets asked to stretch the line, you can't. It's all about timing. He works off triggers of different players to be able to get in, and his eye for goal was fantastic. To mark him must be so hard, because if you saw stats, if you saw his running stats, it's definitely his sprint distance. It's phenomenal, and that's how he keeps his body. He's so professional away from the game that he's able to do that.
And we're entering the final month of the season now, and we're within a point of the top half. Just how important is it going to be to keep this momentum going, to finish the season as high as we can on that league table?
Yeah, I've had to, stress to the boys that we've won 3 games in a row now. It's not, you don't get that chance often to try and extend it. We've got two really good games now. Can we make it 5 in a row going into another hard fixture away at Rotherham? This is a chance to keep getting back-to-back wins, keeping the momentum on the pitch. Confidence on the pitch is so key. We haven't had many chances to do that this season, so you've got to grab it with both hands when the fixtures come up like this. We've had such a tough run at the start of this year, that you've got to capitalise when you're playing well, when you're keeping clean sheets. So today I hope that it's going to be a good performance.
And just lastly from me, we meet a Lincoln side this afternoon who have struggled for consistency this season. What are you and the lads expecting from them today?
Yeah, they play some very good football. I remember playing them away in the season, albeit we weren't at our best at that time. And they play some really nice football, so we're looking them to play some intricate stuff. A lot of patterns of play, and obviously they signed players like Marquise in January that adds a little bit of firepower. So him and Hopper up top definitely provide that. So we're going to have to be on it today, and we're going to have to press from the front. We're going to have to press as a team, not going on 1s and 2s, and try and build some momentum and create an atmosphere in the stadium.
Brilliant, thanks Jayden, and best of luck today.
Cheers, thank you.
Great to speak to Jayden, and kick-off isn't far away, so let's remind ourselves of the starting lineups. Curbs, an unchanged team. Johnny hasn't had that luxury too much this season, but it's contributing to a nice little bit of momentum.
Yeah, and they all know their jobs. And, as Peter said earlier, consistent team selection has brought consistent results. But we don't want to emphasise it too much, but the big difference between now and perhaps a month ago is them 2 boys up top.
And Peter, if we take a quick look at the visitors as well, what kind of threat should we expect from Lincoln? We know they've been inconsistent, but that in a sense is a threat of its own.
I thought Tom Hopper would be playing, because I saw him score a goal recently at Scunthorpe, I think it was, and he's quite a good player, left-footed striker. They're there or thereabouts, team Lincoln. They can win a game, they can lose a game. There will be a threat, but where that threat comes from, I'm not too sure.
Curbs, how do you see today's game unfolding?
I think what Jayden Stockley just said, start off on the front foot and get the crowd going a little bit of an atmosphere. And I'm sure that with the way we're playing at the moment, if we score first, it's going to be very difficult for Lincoln to get back in the game.
Peter, you have watched Charlton a number of times this season. What are you expecting from this contest?
Well, I'd like a good start. Like, everybody wants to get in, get on the front foot. Hopefully they get a couple of goals before half-time. But I just want them to keep a clean sheet again, because if they keep a clean sheet, I think they can win a game.
And how important has Craig McElfrey been? Let's shout out those clean sheets as well, because it's a nice
we've been talking a lot about strikers, haven't we?
We have.
Perhaps too much. But there is 9 other players out there, and the defensive side of it, with Dobson, etc., the 3 centre-backs, have held their own. And as Peter said, they're going into today's game, OK, 3 wins on the spin, but 3 clean sheets, you know, that is a big confidence booster. And I'm sure if they're at it today, then that will be 4 clean sheets.
Peter, we see George Dobson there. I think he's most people's contender for player of the season. But one other player to mention is Scott Fraser. I read an interview with him recently. His comeback from COVID, he seems to be getting better each game and each time he pulls on a Charlton shirt. Yeah,
well, that COVID, you never know how bad it's going to affect you. It affects people differently, and he's done well to come back from it, to be fair. So, yeah, it's nice to see him playing back, and he's doing well.
It'd be nice to see Fulsakaski again as well. No, for obviously been out for so long, serious injury, but now he's back. I'm sure the fans would like to see a bit of him if Jacko has got that opportunity.
Yeah, nice moment there, seeing Jacko give Jake a pat on the back, a big moment there. Hopefully he will savour it, and who knows, come on to make an impact. But with both sets of players on the field of play, the captains taking the coin toss, I think we're ready to pass over to our commentary team. So let me hand you over to Terry Smith, Greg Stubley and Steve Brown.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, Curbs, and thanks to Captain Marvel, Peter Shirtliff, who we've been more used to alongside us when Stevie Brown can't make it, and he